Welcome to the 3 Championship Drive podcast hosted by me, Lance Caporossi. Kind of quiet on the Pistons front this week. There's not a whole lot of news because Summer League just ended. And I've been checking out a couple of other Pistons podcasts just to kind of get the temperature of the room when it comes to Chaz Lanier. Just want to give a shout out to Bryce Simon for his breakdown of Chaz Lanier's. If you don't subscribe to the Motor City Substack, I highly recommend checking it out. Bryce does incredible breakdowns. In the Chaz Lanier one, it's like an 11-minute video if you got the time. It was great. I felt like I learned quite a bit about Chaz Lanier's game and how he gets his shot off. And now I feel like I have other words to throw out there when I'm describing him as a movement shooter. It was incredible. I will still say that one of the best points Bryce brought up on the Pistons Pulse was you don't really, I think someone had asked the question, but it was basically like Chaz Lanier doesn't really attack closeouts. So if the shot's not falling, what else does he bring? And then he was making this comparison to Duncan Robinson. And it was a great point because Duncan is so good at moving and operating off the three-point line when defenses come to close him out. Like, he's a sneaky good passer, and he has a really nice floater. I'm sure if you've been watching the Pistons, you've noticed this about Duncan Robinson. Like, he's more than just a three-point shooter. His game has evolved to attacking closeouts and finishing at the rim while also becoming a better playmaker along the lines. And I gotta say, like, I've been impressed. And if I'm Chaz Lanier, Duncan Robinson is the guy that I'm talking to every day. I am picking his brain as much as I can because this guy came in undrafted and he has made a heck of a career for himself while also just continuing to get paid big dollars. I mean, this guy undrafted had 3 solid years, then gets moved to the bench, and then comes out, redefines his game, will make tweaks to it, and now he's a regular starter again in the NBA. If I'm Chaz, this is the guy I'm talking to. I'm trying to learn as much as I can from Duncan Robinson because I gotta find other ways to affect the game if my shot's not falling. If I'm Chaz, I'm talking to Duncan Robinson. There is nobody else on this team I am talking to. And I mean, I'm looking at Duncan Robinson's numbers. He just played at 31. I believe he'll be 32. Yeah, he'll be 32 this upcoming year. And like, there's still a lot to love from his game. Part of the reason I'm looking at this, I wanted to see his assist numbers because I thought his assist numbers had just climbed one year when I felt like they didn't have a point guard and he was kind of like the makeshift point guard on the team. But I thought he averaged like close to 5 assists one season. There might have been a streak in there where he did this, but he did not average 4 or even 5 assists at all. But yeah, Chaz Lanier, just talk to Duncan Robinson, figure out how he's done it. Another part too is like, maybe Duncan should come off the bench. I don't know, maybe Isaiah Joe should start. Maybe that's another topic for another day. So we'll save it. But yeah, I encourage you to go and check out Motor City Hoops Substack and watch the Chaz Lanier video. It's very good and very informative. And it's not boring. Like, he definitely does the coach thing, Bryce does. And yeah, it's just a great video. I got to tune in more. I'm just so excited about this team that I'm trying to take in as much content as I possibly can because I want to learn more about these guys. But great breakdown on Chaz Lanier. The Detroit Pistons have brushed aside all sign and trade offers for Jalen Duren. And this comes from Marc Stein. And I'm sure all of us are just absolutely tired of talking about Jalen Duren. All of us want this saga to be over. We just want to be able to move on through the summer. Now, I understand this is kind of how the NBA goes. But man, Jalen Duren is driving me nuts. Like, he is driving me nuts with all of this. But let's get in and let's just talk about this and let's talk about the sign and trade offers. So I'm curious if Trajan Langdon actually listened to the offers and negotiated or simply politely declined. I wish there was more information from Marc Stein, and maybe I missed it, but like, I just want to know, did Trajan Langdon do his due diligence, or is it just one of these things like I'm not gonna listen to any offers because he's a Detroit Piston? And what were those offers like? Like, I don't know. Did someone offer? I don't want to say they offered a godfather deal, I mean, for Jalen Duren, but were they that bad where you're looking at them and you're like, I get it. Jalen Duren wants to be out of here, but none of these trades make our team better. I'd rather just try to work this out with Jalen Duren because these trade offers suck. Maybe that was the case. Maybe that's why he politely declined, or maybe that's why he slammed the phone down. I don't know, but brushed aside, it kind of ticks me off just a little bit that we're not getting any more information on this, even though it wouldn't change anything right now. But I would just like to know what the market is like for Jalen Duren when it comes to these teams, because all of we've gotten is Sabonis and the Lakers. So far, we're interested, and we haven't, at least to my knowledge, we haven't heard from any other team. So I would like to know what the market is out there for Jalen Duren. What are teams willing to trade for him? Are we talking multiple first? Are we talking role players? Are we talking another all-star? I am just curious. But then when you hear the news that they just brushed aside all trade offers, does this mean that Trajan Langdon believes Jalen Duren can take another step? And does he believe that a championship can be won in Detroit with Jalen Duren as the starting center? Because to me, when you brush aside, basically push away the trade offers, you are saying, without saying it, that we believe in Jalen Duren, we believe he can take another step, and we believe that we can actually win the big one with him. That is what it is saying to me. Now, did Trajan Langdon decline because he felt like the offers were a little low and he didn't want to trade Jalen Duren while his value was the lowest? That very well could be. We could be looking at this all wrong, where maybe Trajan Langdon actually is trying to trade Jalen Duren because, he's a former basketball player. He's been in the game long enough. He can see the writing on the wall when it's there, maybe. So maybe he actually is like, I am going to trade Jalen Duren at some point, but after that playoff performance, I can't trade him because I don't feel like we, the Pistons, will get good enough value for Jalen Duren. This guy was an all-NBA third-team center, and he played in the All-Star game, and he was a 20-10 guy. And he happened to be on a team that won 60 games. But because of his playoff performance, he doesn't look like any of that stuff right now. If you're trading an all-NBA player, you should probably be getting one back, even if one is slightly older than the other. It doesn't have to be a 100% fair trade. It just has to make sense. And I feel like with the playoff performance Jalen Duren had, I probably wouldn't trade him right now either, because you might just be looking at a Sabonis or a Zach LaVine from Sacramento. You're probably not looking at a great offer that just blows you away. We're like, you know what? This makes a ton of sense for both parties. I just feel like his playoff performance has really shunted his opportunities out there. Like if a team was really interested and they said, hey, Jalen Duren, he can be this guy for us, we'd hear about it. I'm really believing that there's not that great of a market for a Jalen Duren. I think some of these teams like a Sacramento, I don't want to say bottom feeders would be interested, but like Jalen Duren offensively, he does help a little bit. It's just like the good teams, the teams that are really trying to win, say, look, there's a little bit more to be desired on the defensive end. It's hard for us to invest so much in a guy that seems like he can really only play one side. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I just want the saga to be over. I just want it all to be done with Jalen Duren, because this to me, like, I don't know how you bounce back. Like, I'm worried for the Detroit Pistons as a whole with all of this going on. What is this saying to other players? What is this saying to Cade? What is this saying to Asar? What is this saying to Ron Holland? And, maybe guys that are looking out, maybe they're thinking like, damn, Trajan Langdon, he can't even get it done with one of his own guys. What are we going to do when we're coming in and talking to him? I don't know. I just want it all to be done so we can just move on, because this is just This is crazy. I didn't think it would take this long. I thought this would be maybe like a week or two of them negotiating and maybe looking at the actual trade market for Jalen Duren, and then we would wash our hands of it, and he would be coming back. Like, I'm nervous now that Isaiah Stewart's no longer here because, we might be going into the season with just a happy Paul Reed and a happy Tulu Smith and a disgruntled Jalen Duren. Like, that makes me nervous. I don't think Jalen Duren will do anything to affect the team or affect the record. I think he'll still play his ass off. But, like, I don't want this to be a season of distractions of, like, him being upset, or maybe he's missing games because of, injuries that are lingering a little too long, injuries that he would normally play for. I just don't want the distraction for the regular season. The Pistons had 60 wins. Yes, they bounced out of the second round in 7, but overall it was a great year, and it's something to build on. And it's hard to build a long foundation when you have people surrounding you just distracting you. And that's something that I feel like we're getting with Jalen Duren. So we're going to keep talking about Jalen Duren because there's another report that came out. This comes from Ramona Shelburne. Says negotiations between Jalen Duren and the Detroit Pistons could drag deep into August. So now the question becomes, who has more leverage? And if money is truly Jalen Duren's top priority, is betting on himself actually the smartest financial decision? Is signing the qualifying offer a bad gamble? So the best case scenario for Jalen Duren, he has another breakout season. Maybe he averages 24 and 11, makes another All-Star team, and then solidifies himself as an All-NBA center by making a second All-NBA third team. Jeez, it's hard to talk. Worst case scenario for him, injuries, regressions statistically, while not making up for it on defense, a center-heavy free agent market. And maybe that team, Sacramento, maybe they surprise some people and they start making offers where now that valuable cap space they could have had going into next offseason is being used up for guys that are under contract. Those, in my opinion, can be why I wouldn't gamble signing the qualifying offer. And if Jalen Duren, again, I don't know him personally. I'm just reading between the lines. It does seem like money is a huge focus for him. But, like, I don't understand signing the qualifying offer for, like, $10 million and then potentially leaving another $25 million off the table. Like, I would rather, if I'm Jalen Duren, I'm 22 years old, I'd rather start making as much money as I possibly can at this age. But it seems like he's willing to gamble, and there's a real chance he signs the qualifying offer. I personally think signing the qualifying offer when you have this much money on the table is stupid, just because a lot could happen. A lot could happen in a positive way. A lot could happen in a bad way. To me, I'm just not willing to risk it. If I'm Jalen Duren, I would just sign a three-year deal with Detroit. Maybe a 4-year and throw a player option in there or something. But that way, I get paid. It's also a short enough contract that I can gamble on myself and potentially have a bigger payday at the age of 25. Why is someone on his ear telling him this? Like, you don't have to sign the max right now. Like, if you feel like you're worth more, bet on yourself, but sign the 3-year deal. Get some bigger money while you can. Don't risk it. Because, like, could you imagine? There's a lot more mouths to feed on this Pistons team than there was last year. There's a little bit more offense. Like, I feel like there's potentially a real regression on offense for Jalen Duren this upcoming season just because there's more mouths to feed. Guys are going to get better. Guys are going to try to... what if Asar develops offensively? Then you have Isaiah Joe. Maybe Danis takes another step. Maybe Ibuka can play right away as a rookie. John Collins needs his shots. Maybe Ron Holland develops a little bit. Like, Torian Green, maybe he's part of the rotation. Maybe Paul Reed, he starts eating in more to Jalen Duren's minutes. Take the money now, Jalen Duren, and let's get this whole thing done with. Just sign a 4-year with a player option and call it good, and then bet on yourself again in a few years. Just play out of your mind for the next few years so you can get that larger payday at 25. Is Jalen Duren overestimating his market? I would think so. I think once he made that All-NBA third team, he was thinking, yes, I am about to get paid huge money. And I think he honestly overestimated the market. I don't think many teams are looking for a one side of the ball center. Yeah, all-star, all-NBA, 20 and 10. What else are you doing for me, though? Because you did 20 and 10 in Detroit because they needed you to do 20 and 10. But if you come over here, I don't need you to do 20 and 10. I need you to do like 14 and I need you to do like 14 and 8. But I need you to step it up defensively. Can he do that? I think that's where the overestimation came from this offseason. That I think maybe he just underestimated how bad the playoffs would go or how much having a bad playoff performance would damage his reputation going into the offseason. I don't know, but like these things definitely play a part. Like it's a short-term memory. Like they don't care that you made all NBA 13 or made an all-star. They care what you did in the playoffs, and it wasn't much. What would the Pistons be paying for if they signed Jalen Duren? Is it what he has done or what he will become? And then that becomes the question, like, what are you expecting if you sign him to a long-term deal for like more, like let's say Jalen Duren wins the negotiations and the Detroit Pistons sign him for what he wants. Are you signing him for the 2010 season, All-NBA third team, All-Star appearance, bounced in the second round? Or are you saying, look, this guy can truly be our second option. We see him in practice every day. Let's see what he can do. It's just about unlocking that game to game. That's what we're going to do, and that's what we are going to be paying for. The version no fans have seen yet. That's my question. I just want to know, what are you paying him for? You can now we can all probably figure it out. We're going to reward him for what he has done, and we're going to pay him for what he thinks he can become. That's usually how these go. But like, to me, there's still just a little mystery about Jalen Duren, because it essentially was kind of a let me show the league what I can do so I can get paid this offseason type of year. I don't want to call it just a contract year, but that's what it felt like. We don't know what he'll be doing. Is this Jalen Duren from here on out? Because if he is 20 and 10 and you're on a playoff team, then maybe you really do got to reevaluate how you're going to be paying him. And then maybe you can look at it too, like, well, we don't get players like this in Detroit very often. That's fine. We've won with less. So I don't think any center on the Pistons that are on the championship teams have been a 20 and 10 guy. It's all good. I'd rather have the banner, and I'd rather be watching them hold up the Larry O'Brien trophy. That would be great. If you were Jalen Duren's agent, would you tell him to take the long-term security right now, bet on yourself and sign the qualifying offer, or negotiate a shorter contract with a player option? I've already answered this, but if I was his agent, I would just tell him to sign the shorter contract. Let's negotiate it. Let's get you in on a shorter contract, and then in a few years, let's come back after you develop your game and after you show the Pistons and the league that the All-NBA third team wasn't a fluke, the All-Star appearance wasn't a fluke, the playoff performance isn't who you are in the playoffs. Let's show the league and let's show the Pistons, let's show the basketball world that those two things weren't flukes and that playoff performance wasn't who you are, that you're going to be able to bounce back and you're going to help carry a team to the promised land. That's what I would do if I'm his agent. That's what I'd be telling. I'd be building him up. I just say, let's just take the next few years and let's become the dog the league has never seen. That's just what I would do. What would have to happen this season for Jalen Duren to justify betting on himself? I would say defensive improvement first and foremost. Like just showing that you're not going to constantly get beat to the rim when you have to play in space. And that I would also say consistent rim protection would be nice. I felt like we got a little bit of that this year. But even then, I just felt like the defense in the middle was still kind of exposed all season long just because he is a little inconsistent on defense. And then better playoff performance. I think that's the big one for me. Like he can make the improvements defensively. He can become a better rim protector. That's all great and everything. That's what we really need. But in order for him to justify betting on himself, I would be so nervous during the regular season if I was him. Those playoff performances would probably be in the back of my mind, where I feel like this whole upcoming year, I would be playing with a certain expectation that I have to perform at a high level. And I don't know if I'd be able to do it if I was in Jalen Duren's shoes. You're coming off a 20-10 All NBA third team and All-Star appearance, but you're also coming off a poor playoff performance as well. The pressure is on for Jalen Duren, and if I'm him, that's why I think signing the contract, I think that takes a lot of pressure off of him, because now you're locked in. You can say, look, they believed in me. They signed me for 4 or 5 years. This is what they gave me. That would boost my confidence if I was Jalen Duren. Signing that contract and being locked in, knowing that I'm not playing on a 1-year deal, betting on myself and coming into the season with all of that pressure. Because I would have to imagine, even as a professional athlete, the pressure is on and it is heavy for what that playoff performance was. And then you're going to add on top of it, like, man, I'm going into the year playing for $10 million on a 1-year deal. And if I don't play well, and let's just say I have another shitty playoff performance, he's going to tank his value. That's what's going to happen. I would highly encourage him. If you were listening to this and you know Jalen Duren personally, get him to sign the long-term contract so he can take pressure off of himself. Just get him to get the money so he can take pressure off himself and he can come in with a feeling of lightness into the season. I did have one more topic, but I'm going to save it just because I didn't rush it, but I was thinking about like what players I was surprised to see in a Pistons uniform. And I already have a list of 5 because I like to do things in 5. And I think it's a really fun team, but it will remind people of like a really bad experience because there's absolutely no spacing on this team, on these 5. But, like, I love thinking of things like this, so I'm going to save it for the next podcast. But you can think about it now, like, what Piston were you just blown away that was, like, wearing... Like, for example, Tracy McGrady. He's not on my team, and he wouldn't be on my list. But that's an example of, like, holy shit, Tracy McGrady actually wore a Pistons jersey and played here for a little while. It wasn't the good Tracy McGrady, but he was here. And that's a holy crap. I completely forgot about that, and I can't believe that legend was in this jersey. That's what I'm asking. I would love to hear people's answers. Feel free to drop comments on YouTube or send me an email. You can see the email on my Spotify. But anyways, thank you guys for listening to the 3 Championship podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe, follow, rate, review, but more importantly, tell a Pistons fan.